All right. Okay, it looks like we are live stream now. Welcome, welcome, friends. I finally got it together. Sorry about the holdups. There seems to be some sort of restrictions going on today, some sort of confusion. But look at we've got here today. We've got Sabina Kurz with us here today. This is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I've been able to track this lady down. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. I'm glad I've got a chance to talk with her here today. I'm glad I've got a chance to talk with her about health, about fitness and nutrition and weight loss, about how to be healthy, about why people aren't healthy. But let's begin with just a little bit first about Sabina. Sabina, would you please tell us a little bit about you and about how you've come to be this very wonderful, magical, transformative lady, this lady that's been so helpful to me in my health journey, that's been very inspiring to me on my health journey, a lady that has a history, I know, of fasting and raw foods and yoga and breath work and mindset. I know you're involved in all of these things, and this is what I know about you, but just for the benefit of everyone on my team, in my club, to all of my friends, could you please tell us all a little bit about you? And then I've got some questions about health that I want to go through with you today.
Well, thank you so much for such an amazing, beautiful, powerful introduction. It actually put a big smile on my face and made my heart really jump. So thank you, John. And it's always such an honor and a pleasure to be with you, no matter what we're doing, just to be in your space. That is a blessing. And thank you for everyone else who might be jumping in today. And sorry for the delays, technical challenges, let's say technical opportunities. But yes, thank you for being here and sharing your time and devoting yourself to empowerment and transformation, because that's what I have devoted my life to since early on.
Do you want to hear this, or shall I turn it off? I mean, put it in my headphones.
I'm just going to mute everyone that's out there so that, yes, let's make sure we just mute everyone that's in the audience there. Thank you. Go ahead, Sabina, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so basically my journey started in childhood. I grew up in Germany on a standard German diet with lots of bread, lots of butter and dairy, lots of refined sugar, and lots of meat. So I was always sick. I was the sick child of the family. I was called a frail child. I was always in bed with fevers, with bronchitis, with my nose was always congested. I couldn't breathe through my nose. I had to walk with a tissue box always. So that was my story. And as a child, I never liked school. I questioned everything. I questioned the system. I questioned my teacher. I questioned, why do you need to learn this? And my mom would take me to doctors. They gave me pills and syrups and all kinds of stuff. And nothing really helped, or it was just a temporary. But somehow from an early age on, I knew there must be another way. And I also always knew this is not it. I grew up in a standard middle-class family, and I always knew there's more. There must be something that's more beautiful, better, brighter. So that's something that was deeply ingrained. And I always found that when I went in the forest. I spent lots of time not going to school, hiding and going in the forest. And that's where I felt vibrant, I felt empowered. And I always remember seeing the light, the sun, and feeling the light around me. So from an early age on, nature was my best teacher. Nature was my medicine. That's where I found peace. That's where I found empowerment. That's where I found my joy. So to make a long story short, when I was 19, I left my family and I was sick and tired. And I decided to devote myself to healing, to feeling great again. And that was ways before the internet. So it was a bit more difficult to get to the information. And I didn't know anyone, everyone around me was so-called in the matrix and on the standard diet. So I went to bookstores and I came across a book that was based on raw food nutrition. And somehow it called me and I read it and I switched immediately from the standard German diet to eating only fruits and vegetables. Mainly, actually, I always started with fruits in the morning and then later on salad or raw vegetables. But all I ate was fruits, vegetables. And within a short time, everything improved. And I felt my nose opening up. Suddenly, I didn't have mucus anymore. I didn't need tissues anymore. I just felt happier, more joyful, had more energy. My body became more flexible. Everything improved. It was like amazing. It was like, wow. And that just gave me so much power. I realized I can actually heal myself. All these doctors with their, titles and their what's it called? Their degrees on the walls, they couldn't do anything for me. And I just read this book and changed my diet and I healed myself. So that was the first moment I said, wow, I have a power here. I'm a healer. There's a natural way for healing. And that was basically how it started, 19 years old. And from then on, I just kept going deeper. And when I was in my mid-20s, I moved to New York City. And it was actually more health conscious than Germany, believe it or not. There was quite a few people I met that started drinking juices. So that's why I started juicing. And eventually I got to fasting. I did my first fast at age 26 in New York City, 10-day water fast. And I locked myself in my apartment. I just wanted to be in silence. It was a mix of fasting and practicing silence, silent retreat in my own little apartment in downtown Manhattan. So the first few days were really tough, but then when I got past day 5, I suddenly experienced something I've not experienced before. I suddenly felt this complete oneness with everything and complete inner bliss. And this, I would say, was a connection to God, which I never experienced before. The oneness, that just this feeling, that anything is possible. And I can be with nothing, with no substances, no people, no talking, no attention, anything towards me. I can be with nothing. And actually, I have it all. So that was a major breakthrough in this first connection to oneness, the divine God. And it was a very powerful experience. And from that on, I went really deep into spirituality, meditation, yoga. For a while, I studied with a Buddhist monk. I went on silent retreats. I meditated 2 hours every day. I went to temples and just really deep in all kinds of scriptures, Krishnamurti, Alan Watts, and Plato, so many different, I got my inspiration from so many different sources. I was just so hungry and my life was just devoted to learning and opening and deepening and becoming. My goal was to be enlightened and I wanted to have it fast, which is an illusion, but anyway, so I was in the path of I wanted to be enlightened as fast as possible. So I went really deep, really intense. And, it was a journey. It's not gonna, this is not happening overnight. But I went, since then I've been going deeper and searching, trying all different ways, modalities of healing, energy healing, shamanic healing, sound healing. I mean, you name it. I've tried everything. And I experimented on myself because I wanted to see what works best, what works fastest, what results do I get. And of course, I got misled because there's so much misinformation out there. So I made a lot of mistakes. I did things that were not supportive of health. I hurt myself sometimes. But anyway, it's an experiment. I experimented on myself and really deep in all areas of healing and empowerment and transformation. And at some point, actually, through all that experimenting and learning, I actually learned what works best, what is most efficient, and what gives me the most joy, really. Because at the end, it's not this idea of being enlightened. For me, it's about feeling good, experiencing joy every day, laughing, experiencing love and being able to share love and to receive love, and really getting to this feeling that anything is possible in life. And I can have it all in all areas, not just in one or in a few, or I can have a little bit. No, I can have it all in all areas. And that was really it. So the end, it comes for me to, I want to feel good. I want to wake up in the morning feeling inspired, lit up, joyful, blissful, ready to go. And I want to inspire other people. So one of my things was inspiring others. And along the way, I was a filmmaker, I was a stylist, I was an actress in the theater, I was an actress in film. I made several short films. I was on the red carpet. I was part of a film festival. And I wrote several books, published one. So I did many, many things. But, you know, underneath was always this feeling of, I want to experience optimal health, vibrant energy, happiness, joy, and love, really. And expressing myself in many different creative ways. So that's kind of in a nutshell. It was a long journey, but that's kind of, yeah, the foundation of it. And I'm still on this journey, but I realize this journey is never ending. There's no arriving, there's no enlightenment. Enlightenment is really about living in the now, really. It's not even the journey, it's living every moment in the now, celebrating every moment. Every moment is precious, and being here now. And going deeper, continue to evolve. So life is really evolution and enjoying the oneness now.
I love that. I love that story. And I learned a lot about you there just from hearing that. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. So, you know, I heard you talking about, you know, raw foods and juices. And I've been in relationship with you for a couple of months now. So I know raw foods and juices are a big staple part of your diet. Can you talk a little bit about raw foods, juices? And I feel like what you were talking about there was detoxification. Could you talk about raw foods, juices, and detoxification?
Mm-hmm. Yes, like one of the main benefits that I experienced immediately when I switched to the cooked, baked diet to a raw food diet is I suddenly felt the vibrancy I didn't have before. I felt something, you know, it's almost like a life force that was injected into me when I went on raw foods. And that is what I really became aware of, that life, you know, food that is raw and uncooked, unprocessed. First of all, it's filled with sunlight, especially the fruits, they're exposed to sunlight. So we're actually eating sunlight, which is really the purest form of energy. And sunlight is healing, sunlight is nutrition. And when we cook food, we bake it, we kill the sunlight. And also raw living foods has a structured water. It's H3O instead of H2O, which is actually extremely potent for hydration. It's the best form of hydration. Also, raw living foods has enzymes, so it helps with the digestion process. And raw living foods is actually part of, it detoxifies you, it cleanses you. So it has actually multiple benefits. And you notice when you switch to Sunday, I was Sunday at night, I wasn't tired anymore. And I only slept, I noticed when I eat raw foods only, I only sleep 6 hours, and I feel good waking up. I don't need, when I eat cooked food, I need 8 hours. That's the difference. My body just needs more because the body spends a lot of time in the digestion process, and that takes a lot of energy. But when you eat raw food, it's much lighter, and especially go to juicing, then the body has energy, and that energy can then be used for healing because the body has a self-healing mechanism, and especially when you fast and you don't eat at all. That's where the self-healing mechanism kicks in big time. And then the body goes into self-healing mode, into cleansing mode, into regeneration, restoring, rejuvenation. So a lot happens actually when you switch to more raw living foods. And eventually the next step would be juicing, because then the body doesn't need to digest. You just take liquids, you get liquid nutrition, which is much more potent. This is actually, the power is amplified because it's very concentrated, because you can't eat this mountain of food, but when you juice it, you can eat, get much more nutrients into your body. So you get really powerful nutrition. At the same time, the body has energy for cleansing and for healing, and you will have more energy. And when you go into fasting, that's even deeper, because fasting is actually, juicing is not considered fasting. There's a distinction. Many people say juice fasting, but it's not. You're not fasting. Fasting is only water only, or no water at all, dry fasting, nothing. That is really fasting. So when you go on a water fast or a dry fast, that's when the healing is really amplified, and you're actually creating human growth hormones, you're creating stem cells. That's where you actually become younger. This is actually the best pro-youthening. And I like to say pro-youthening instead of anti-aging. So anyone who's interested in pro-youthening, the best way for that is fasting. You're actually reversing the aging process. And what also happens, all your systems are being upgraded, and it's basically a total reset. You're pushing the reset button and everything gets upgraded. And it's a powerful process. You can actually feel it. You can see it in your skin and in your eyes and in your energy, in the way your body becomes flexible. Everything opens up. It's this amazing feeling. You feel like, wow. You feel like, when you do yoga or you do any stretches, you notice your body just becomes more flexible. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to experience that. And I notice every time I do a fast, I notice it's like, wow, I do yoga and I can go much deeper than I was able to do it the week before. And then I don't fast for 3 or 4 weeks. I eat and I notice I get tighter again. It's like this cycle. And that's why I fast every month, because I like this feeling of being open, of being light, being able to go deep. And also I love mental clarity. Nothing gives you as much clarity as when you, first of all, raw food diet. You will notice when you switch from cooked food to raw food, you will just be sharper, more conscious, more present. When you go juicing, that's the next level, and fasting even deeper. Like fasting, I often had experience where I get downloads, like huge amount of information is downloaded onto me. I can actually just write and write and write. And I could write entire books often after I fast. And then even images come down to me. Like some people go to take sacred plant medicine to get visions. You can get this naturally with fasting. There's a lot, lot opens up, and it's just the highest state of consciousness, just being more present, being more here, and being able to see, what fasting really enables you is, don't get sucked into what's out there in the field. You can see beyond that. You can see the illusions, you can see the lies, you can see all the distortions that are taking place, especially right now. You can see right through it. It's so obvious that most people cannot see it because they live in a denser reality. When you eat a lot of cooked food, heavy food, baked foods, microwave food, processed food, your energy becomes very dense and heavy, and you're clogged up and you're tight. It's not just your body, also mentally, everything gets clogged and is tightened. And you really can't see beyond the 3D reality. You just see what it is and what it says. But there's many, many deeper layers. And fasting enables you to go deep and to go far and see beyond the horizon.
Awesome. I love that. I heard a few things I want to just copy back to make sure that we got clarity here. So, I was asking about the detoxification. You talked about fasting. You mentioned cleansing. You talked about juicing. Detoxification. Is it all of these things? What is detoxification? Can you?
Yeah, so first of all, we must know we all have waste accumulation in our body, which comes from food that is not properly digested. Like most foods are mucus forming, especially meat, dairy, grains, beans, processed food. They build mucus, which never fully gets eliminated. So it gets accumulated in our body. Also, we are exposed to so much toxicity. I mean, there's toxicity in the air through chemtrails. It's in our soil through glyphosate that's sprayed in in the fields, in the earth, that goes into the water. It's our drinking water. And then even you eat organic food, and they still have chemicals in it, toxins, and since it's sprayed, all over. So we all basically get bombarded by toxicity every day. It's in our clothing, it's in our furniture, it's all over in all kinds of products that are in our household. We get bombarded by electromagnetic frequency from Wi-Fi towers. So when you look at the whole picture, we all get bombarded by toxicity. So we're actually being poisoned, literally. And I'm saying this with a laughter because it is kind of we poisoned. So you must know that we all have toxicity, no matter how healthy you live, no matter you live off the grid, grow your own food, there's still toxicity in you. So knowing that, we must know we're all toxic, we all have waste accumulation. And then additionally to that, all that mental stuff, all the fear, all the limitations we put in our mind, all the negative thinking, all these limiting beliefs, all the mental constructs, the stories we made up about ourselves, all the emotions that are never processed and unresolved, all that gets stored in your body, in your energy field, in your mind, in your whole aura. So knowing that we are filled with toxicity, waste, build up, whatever you want to call it, but we're all clogged up. And I'm laughing because it's actually ridiculous, but this is really, understanding that. So there's really no other way than detox. We must unclog, we must release, we must dissolve, we must let go of all that stuff in order to be connected to source and to be free and to be light and to be present and to be joyful and to be here now. So there's no other way than detoxification. So detoxification is just letting go of what is holding you back from being you in your authentic, most original version of you, in your highest version, in your potent version, in who you truly are. Most people are never who they truly are. They're like, have so many veils, so many layers, so many heavy energies. They're not connected to source anymore. They're completely lost. So we want to get rid of all that stuff so we can be the true you again.
Okay. So I got some more clarity there. So we've all gotten toxicity. I think especially if we're over 40 or 50, we've got this toxicity in our body from all of these things, and you mentioned them. And so what we need some sort of cleansing process. And you mentioned cleansing, and you mentioned the cleansing process, which is fasting or choosing foods that are rich in energy from the sun. So live foods, juices, like living juices, and fasting, water fasting or dry fasting. This is the way to cleanse the body or detoxify the body.
Yes, and there's an additional component to it, which is the emotional side. We must release, all that trauma that we all have. We all have childhood trauma at some point from our early childhood, and we all have unresolved emotions or challenging emotions that we have never really processed through, that were suppressed, and they're stored in our tissues, in our cells. So there's another process to it, which is actually shadow work, which is a very powerful work, and looking at our triggers, really. That's what it all comes down. What is triggering us? And learning to look at all of us, our darkness, our light, what is our strength, our weaknesses, what are our triggers? What are we hating in other people? Why we don't like certain aspects in others? This is really your shadow. So looking at all these parts as well is so essential. And during fasting and cleansing, they usually come up, but they come up more easily. Because the thing is, we all have blind spots, and we cannot see our own blind spots. That's why it's so essential actually to work either with a coach or to do some really deep cleansing where this stuff comes up. And then ideally you want to have someone who can hold your hand through that, because it is not easy to look at yourself, look at your ugly side, your dark side, and acknowledge this is part of me. This is who I am too. It's not just this pretty, beautiful side. There's another part too. And we want to be able to look at that and integrate it with love, with acceptance, with embracing all of it so we can transmute it. So there's a powerful process. It's not just the physical. Yes, cleansing is important, but during the cleanse, we must address all the emotional stuff that comes up and work with all these mental challenges that come up and work with the limitations that we all have that are all self-imposed.
I love it. I love what you said there. And so I just want to go over that one more time. You know, detoxification is the elimination of the chemicals and the drugs from the body and life. It's the elimination of the mucus. And you've also touched on, it's the elimination of the thoughts and words, or the mindset and the emotions. So there is chemicals and drugs, so that's physical things. There's thoughts and words, so that's mental things. And you've mentioned the emotions, so that's feelings. So detoxification is physical, mental, and emotional release or elimination to cleanse the body and then allow us to, like you said, download loving energy from the source or from the center. Because I think you talked about in your story how, you know, by moving in this way, you sort of hit this point where you just felt like you opened up to source or to godliness or to spirit or to your soul body. Like somehow you were able to connect and download and upload information or exchange information with your inner being, your intuition or your wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because all the answers are within. The teacher is within, the healer is within, God is within, it's all within. But when you're so clogged up and so toxic, it's very difficult to access that, because all that disconnects you from source. And we want to be at one, you know, with the universe, with everything, completely connected to source. And that's why detoxification and releasing and letting go, that allows you to return to source. And it's really more than anything, a return. That's why I actually don't like so much this word healing. Instead, I like to use return to wholeness. Because by letting go all that stuff and releasing all of it, we get back to our original true self. And that's the whole self. And that is the journey back into the heart, the journey back to source.
So then would you say then that all sickness, illness, disease, problem, strife of man is really just toxicity, mental, physical, and emotional toxicity that's trapped inside the lymphatic system, rather than the ideas about disease and viruses that were kind of taught by the general population?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, actually, after looking at this for 25 years, I really came to the conclusion that all these diseases are just names made up by the medical system. And they really come from the same source, which is it being clogged up. And then, you know, if your body is full of buildup and toxicity and waste and mucus, you just become body becomes inflamed, and it spreads out to different parts of the body because you become very acidic. And then they call it disease, but it really comes from the same source. It's too much buildup, too much stuff, too much waste, too much toxicity. So when you really come down, there are really no diseases. There are only symptoms. They all come from the same cause. And there's only one solution, which is releasing, detoxification, cleansing on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, so we can get back to source and back to who we truly are, and to see clearly, you know, to have mental clarity and to own who we are. And then only then can we fully live our purpose and be fully present. So it's all connected. When you really see the bigger picture and you really go deep, you can see it actually makes sense, you know, and it's not rocket science. It's actually pretty simple. And it really goes down and cleansing new lifestyle, like a healthy patterns going forward, creating new lifestyle in combination with, emotional trauma release. So that's really it. Cleansing plus trauma release plus building new healthy patterns going forward. Because it's not just this one-time thing, you do a cleanse or a detox and that's it. It's really creating a new lifestyle. And it's on a continuous basis.
So you mentioned this, you said, the general population, who is tending to eat more cooked and processed foods are not able to understand this idea or not open to this idea because they have those foods kind of trapped in their body, and that's trapped inside the lymphatic system or the immune system. And because they're blocked with that with that physical stuff in their body, that they're not able to understand this information, or they're not open to this information, or they don't want to see it because they want to continue to eat that stuff. They're kind of addicted to that way of living. Is this,
Absolutely, because most of the food is actually addictive, and there's a reason. Like everything you buy in a package or bottles, sauces, all that stuff, when you really look at the ingredients, often it says natural flavors, and they can hide anything in natural flavors. Often they're very high in sugar, high in salt, and all sugar and salt are very addictive, and they have fructose corn syrup and lots of other substances. They actually make you addictive. They make you wanting more. And all these foods, everything comes from packages. These foods, they numb you. They make you tight and dense. It's a dense, heavy energy. And at the same time, not just your body gets dense, your mind also, everything gets dense and tight. You become tighter. But we want to be the opposite. We want to be fluid and flexible and flowing, so we can experience life in the holy flow. So whatever you do becomes a flow and a dance. It becomes play and it's light. But when you're on that processed diet, it's the opposite. You become dense, heavy, clogged up. You're tired, exhausted. You need a lot of sleep. You don't have creative ideas. Then because you're so cut off from the flow of life. So we want to get back to the flow. And I know, speak from my own experience. I grew up 19 years on that diet. So I know what it's like. And along the way, I sometimes explored a little bit. Sometimes I once had an Italian boyfriend. I would go to his family dinners. And anyone who's been to Italian dinners, they know there's a lot of food. And it's heavily cooked with oils. And, there's tons of choices. So you just eat for hours. You eat and you talk. And every time I would go there at night, I would be passing out I was not driving, I was in this passenger seat, but every time I would go to Italian dinners, I would pass out in the car. And the next morning I would wake up, felt so heavy. And I remember it's like, everything was heavy and dense. I had no creative inspiration. I was like, wow, what's happening? I was a different person from one dinner. That's how my body became clean. So I know immediately, my body reacts immediately. I get tired, my eyes get heavy, I pass out, I have just no energy.
I love that. Okay, so what you're saying is it's that the people have been, kind of inundated with this low vibration food, and they've become addicted to it. And because they've become addicted to it, they continue to eat it, and they want to justify it like any addict does. Like an addict justifies using whatever substance they're using and thinks that that substance is the right thing for them because they're indulging in it. So they get stuck in it, and it keeps them low vibration, low emotion, low creativity, and it also brings in virus and bacteria and disease. And so basically the general population is making themselves sick. And what you're talking about is a total reversal of what the general population is doing. Detoxification is directly oppositional to that. And this is why people can't really get their head around it, because it's completely backwards, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's actually getting back to nature, you know, the natural way. Like the ideal diet is actually you can pick something from a tree and eat it right there, because that has life force. It gives you energy. It gives you happiness. It makes you feel good. It keeps you flexible and creative, all of that. But we have so, you know, completely disconnected from this natural lifestyle. Yeah, it's almost like most people have a completely far the other side, because they've been too long and too much into the certain standard diet. And it is a self-soothing thing, because it makes you comfortable for a while and you want more. I mean, we all know when you open up a bag of chips, you can't just have one chip. It's impossible. You can't. At some point you finish the whole bag. It's just the way it is. And then the next time, you know, you want even more. One bag might not be enough. You need to. So we know how addictive these foods are. And once you're in that cycle, it's very difficult to get out of there, because you're doing it for so long. And then think of an apple that's just not give you the same satisfaction that the potato chips does. But it starts first by recognizing it, because there's no energy in a potato chip. This is actually very destructive and there's no life in it. It's eating dead food. It doesn't give you anything. So we want to, you know, have a change of mindset also. We want to have food, we bite in, we feel it, feel the life force. It's juicy, it's vibrant. When you eat it, you feel good, you feel charged. You're really feeling you're eating a sunlight, you're eating something from Mother Nature, something that is real and raw and authentic. When you get back to this lifestyle, you will notice you have so much more energy. You realize, where has this energy been all along? Yeah. You don't need so much sleep. You don't need, you know, all these things you think you need, because at the end, we don't need so many things. That's another, you know, this paradox. The less you eat, actually, the more energy you have, and the longer you live, and then you can eat more. But so at the end, it's about going back to less, going back to more simpler ways of living, to more natural ways. And with that comes the thing like walking barefoot, being outdoors, breathing fresh air, being exposed to the sunshine, you know, getting naked, having the sun all over your body, doing sun gazing, gazing directly in the sun when the sun is low. That's another form of energy, because we don't need just to take food for energy. We can get energy from sunlight. We can get energy from breath, another power, from air, from being connected to nature, touching nature, being immersed in nature. Movement, moving your body every day is so essential. Most people never move. They sit all day in a chair looking at a box. So this is a completely, it's a disconnected lifestyle. Sitting in front of a box. We need to go outside and move our body, get fresh air, running, jumping, dancing, anything you can do, ideally outside. I go outside in the winter. I walk barefoot on snow, on ice. I jump with the trampoline. I put it outside at 30 degrees. I jump outside. I go running in the morning. I mean, I move my body every day. This morning, I've been dancing in the kitchen. So I move my body. It's essential. Every morning, at least an hour before I even start sitting in my chair, looking at the box.
Awesome, awesome. So that was my next thing that I wanted to get to. It was the exercise component, because I heard you mention yoga, and now you've mentioned running, and you've mentioned dancing. You've just mentioned movement in general. Movement is a big part of this as well too. Can you shine a light a little bit on, you know, the movement aspect of this? What do we need to do movement-wise to be fit and healthy in the new year?
Yes, because another thing is, you know, when we move our body, especially really intense movement, when we sweat, sweating is actually a form of detoxification. And we stimulate the lymphatic system, which is our sewage system. So that also stimulates detoxification. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is to start in the morning. And that actually gets digestion going. I mean, because we all night long, we lie in bed. You know, most people in bed for 8 hours, some are maybe 10. But afterwards, we need to get energy. And that actually, in the morning, getting up and moving, I always feel like sometimes I don't want to. I feel a little sluggish in the morning, but then when I do it afterwards, I realize I'm so glad I did it because I feel amazing. I'm on fire. I'm lit up. And I noticed that the movement is everything. And I've been doing this since I'm 19. I started to have some kind of movement that I commit to myself every day. I move my body for at least 20 minutes, ideally more, but the 20 minutes is the maximum, the minimum. And I got a trampoline many years ago. My son was little, 13 years ago. And when I saw him jumping as a baby, I was like, I want to do that too. So I got really into the trampoline. And then I did some research. A trampoline is actually one of the best exercises for the lymphatic system. And as we discussed before, all the problems comes from the stagnant lymphatic system. So we got to get that lymph moving. And one of the best way is trampoline. There's just also massages all your internal organs. It gets digestion moving and it detoxifies you. And it's also fun. You can do it with music. You can dance while you jump. So I've been doing this for 13 years, pretty much every day. And yoga also is amazing. Just it's that feeling of going deep and opening your body and then breathing into where you're stagnant that helps the things open up. So it's part of the detoxification, really. It's the short answer. Movement supports detoxification.
Movement, but I think that's important. I love what you said about the lymphatic system. I love what you said about the trampoline, walking, jogging, yoga, you know, all sorts of different ways. It's not one right way or the wrong way. I think we want to try to move the entire body. I think it's important. We want to get the whole body moving, and we want to stimulate the body with that decision to kind of get up and go do it. So I think that's important. And I think like when you do move like that, that's circulation. You talked about circulation of the lymphatic system, circulation of the blood, and even the nervous system gets excited and agitated. The hormones get released. But what we hear in the population is we got to go to the gym and kind of like rip the body apart with this, you know, really heavy weight or push ourselves. It's really about pushing. And I think I didn't hear anything like that from you. And I think that that's important for people to understand, that it's not really about ripping your body apart. Like, don't we have enough stress on our bodies already? Like we don't need to rip our bodies or tear ourselves. We just need to like stimulate ourselves.
Exactly. And at the end, it should be fun. It's not about forcing yourself and pushing weights, and it should be fun and do something that calls you. And when you do it, you feel good. And it lights you up. And especially I like movement in nature. I love being outdoors. So anything I can do outdoors, that's always, you know, it fills my heart. It nourishes my soul. And I notice every time I feel better. And this is really the best medicine for anyone who has depression or who is constantly procrastinating things, or someone who feels constantly stagnant or lethargic. Move your body. It will change. Depression goes away. You just keep running and dancing and jumping, whatever you need to do. And you notice you're lifting yourself out of that state, and you definitely feel better afterwards. So it as you said, John, it stimulates the nervous system, and can give you a natural high. You know, I experienced that so many times, and every time I feel myself getting a little low, I actually move my body. I turn the music on, I dance. I go outside, I get barefoot, and I dance. And even under the full moon and things like that. So I did all kinds of stuff, but moving the body is essential. Getting yourself from a stagnant state.
I like it. I like it. So you know, I heard you talk about the cleansing and the movement. Now I heard you mention the sunlight and the grounding. Like you get your bare feet on the ground because that earth has an energy as well, and the sun has an energy. So you want to connect to that. So you're getting energy from movement, you're getting energy from sunlight. You talked about the sunlight foods. You talked about the enzymes and the rich energy in the foods. It's like sunlight energy. It seems like it's all sunlight energy, getting in contact with the earth, being in nature. You talked about nature. You talked about moving. You talked about breathing. breath work? What does breath work have to do with this?
Oh, we're filling our lungs with oxygen, which is so important to really for empowered living. Yeah. And most people actually notice they're very disempowered in life. They have shallow breath. And someone told me that one day, many years, I think you're breathing very shallow. And I realized I was playing small in my life. And then I actually started doing breath work and I went even to a breath workshop in Costa Rica, and trauma got released just by breathing. And there was an exercise, breathing 1 hour, just deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. And suddenly I had trauma from my childhood coming up, crying, intense crying. And it was like a huge release I had just from a breath workshop. And since then I've been incorporating breath work in my life. And I noticed I really stepped more and more in my power. So breath work is an amazing tool for empowerment, really owning who you are, having your heart open, strong. When you stand strong, heart open, deep breathing. It's extremely empowering, and starting your day with breath work. And it could help. First of all, the breath gets you into the present moment like nothing else. So when you're going through some trauma or some challenging emotions, start breathing, deep diaphragmatic breathing. And breath retention, also extremely powerful. So it gets you back to here now, and it gets you back in your empowerment. And you can really own who you are through your breath. So breath work is a medicine. And it's also something to be practiced daily. That's why I recommend meditation and breath work every morning. That sets your foundation for the day.
I like that a lot. And I heard the link to, breath work and exercise, because exercise gets us breathing. So I see the link with the exercise with the breath work, and I see the link with the meditation with the breath work. So I think these are really important things. And I see again the link with the meditation. You talked about living in the moment. You talked about being here and now. You talked about presence.
Also, when you feel some kind of moment, you feel disconnected from yourself or anxiety, stop everything you do and just breathe. You will notice how it calms the nervous system. It's an amazing, simple tool. It's free. And, we're noticing all these tools are free. It's everything we've been mentioning. It's a free medicines. There's so much available. And most people think they have to, get some kind of pill or some injection or something fancy. But it's all available to us and free at every moment.
That's natural healing. You're talking about naturally healing your body. You're suggesting that the body and life can be healed naturally, and all the things you need to do it, you have yourself, or you can get and do yourself. You just need a little bit of motivation or inspiration, or maybe a little bit of accountability, maybe a little bit of relationship. Can you talk a little bit about relationship, accountability? What does that have to do with it?
Well, anything in life, it takes discipline and willpower and commitment. When you have these three things, it's actually not so difficult to transform. But the sad thing is most people have no discipline, very little willpower, and very little commitment. So I've been seeing this a lot. So that's why I believe it's extremely supportive to have some kind of accountability partner, someone who's, who holds your hand a little bit or points you out lovingly. I have this along the way. Sometimes I notice how faster I grew, how faster I evolved, because someone said, Sabina, someone who kicks my ass a little bit. Sometimes, we need that, but from a loving place. Very important. So accountability is powerful. That's why any growth in a group setting or with a partner, actually the healing or the empowerment is amplified. It's heightened because you have someone with you. First of all, you're not alone. You can see it, and there's someone, who can see little, because we often cannot see ourselves. It's really powerful to have someone who can see us and hold us in that space, and then, be with us on that journey. So any kind of accountability is powerful. And I can't tell you enough, I was in many courses, many retreats, and many group group coaching programs where we were part of a team, and it was powerful what really happened there, how the growth was amplified, how we all expanded by being in a container of other like-minded beings. So any kind of accountability, it's wow, you will just go expand really fast, faster than you can do on your own, unless you have super powerful discipline, super powerful willpower and commitment. Yes, you can do it alone, but will be amplified and expedited in a group setting and with an accountability partner.
So relationship and dialogue and communication about these things, like daily, like with almost like we have to learn this new habit or learn this new lifestyle. Like you seem to like know it so well, like it's kind of a part of your life. But if you're brand new to it, if you've been like, you know, out of shape for a period of time, or if you've gotten out of shape, or if you've coming off of an injury, or if you've been inactive for a long period of time, if you've been worried about the family and work and paying bills, and now it's finally time for you to start thinking and speaking about yourself. It's like you need to come away from that old way of living, the things that created your problem, and create like a new way of living. It's like you need to learn a new lifestyle. You need to kind of get around other people who are living and speaking and talking and doing those things, and talk about those things on a daily basis with them, so they can kind of rub off on you a little bit, so you can learn the lifestyle from being around them.
Yeah, no, you explained it perfectly. It's almost like we have been moving in a different paradigm. We want to be around people who are in that paradigm because, yeah, as you said, it rubs off. It's inspiring and it's intoxicating. So to build a foundation, it's extremely nourishing to be in a container with others. And then we can, you know, can start planting seeds and then eventually focus on our own. But it is supportive when you build the foundation at an early stage to be around like-minded people. Otherwise, you can very easily get sucked back into the old paradigm. If everyone around you is in the old paradigm, you know, it's like they all want to pull you back, and it's just the energy is very heavy. So we want to be in the new paradigm as much as possible, and then we can start building from there our own new paradigm.
I love it. I love it. Just maybe one more thing, because you've mentioned it. You talked about the breath work. You talked about the here and now. I heard you talking about living in the moment. Can you kind of pull that into meditation? Like you mentioned the meditation. Like, what has meditation got to do with being healthy? Like, what is the purpose of this? And some people don't like to meditate. Some people are resistant to this, or they can't do it, or they feel like they can't do it. Can you take some of the mystery out of this? Can you say anything more about this?
Well, meditation, as I see it, is an anchoring. It anchors you into here and now, into your authentic self. And meditation is not just being on in the morning on the meditation cushion for 20 minutes and then you're going to a day. No, meditation is all day long. It's how you show up in life, how you interact with others, how you respond to challenges, because it's easy to be peaceful in at home, nothing happening. But how do you react when you're out there in the world and the shit hits the fan? Where's the om? So meditation is right there. How are you in the face of challenges? Can you still be grounded and centered and anchored in? Can you hold your still point when the whole world goes crazy? That's what meditation is. And meditation is foundational. It's really on the foundation for everything. How you show up in life. That's who you are, and who you are. That's how the energy is around you. That's the aura you're creating. And that's what you're attracting, that what comes to you. It comes down who you are. So meditation defines who you are by being in meditation all day long.
I like that. And I like what you said about, you know, being in the chaos or being in the mess. Like meditation is helping you be in the mess. And that sort of seems backwards, because meditation is just about sitting in stillness. But it's like you learn how to sit in stillness and sit with the thoughts in your head that maybe are bothering you right now, and try to be peaceful with the thoughts in the head that are bothering you right now. In a still place, you come to find peace in it, and then maybe it doesn't throw you off track so much when it blows up in your face during your day. It's like you're practicing it when you're in stillness, so that you're prepared a little bit more for it when it comes and shows up in your life.
Absolutely. So meditation is really cultivating inner stillness, which you practice at home, and then you take it with you. So when you're in the world around chaos, then you have that inner stillness, so you can then choose how you're going to respond. You don't become reactive to what's happening outside of you. You choose from the place of inner stillness, and that's power, because then you can choose peacefully from a loving place instead of getting angry or becoming upset at someone or starting to react to a certain situation or feeling hurt. No, you're coming from stillness, from inner peace, from your power place, from source.
Sabina, I loved our chat today. I just want to sum it up. I think this is what I've heard. I've heard you were talking about a lifestyle that includes fruits and vegetables, live foods, fasting, juice and water fasting, and dry fasting. You're talking about a lifestyle that includes fasting, fruits and juices, a lifestyle that connects to nature and sunlight, a lifestyle that connects to movement and breath and meditation. You talked a little bit about emotions and mindset. I think maybe we've left out a little bit. Maybe you need to talk a little bit more about this before we finish. The shadow work, the emotional part of this. This is about emotional healing. This is about energy healing. This is about changing our life naturally. What else would you add to that?
Well, there's one more element to it, which I wanted to quickly touch base on, which is living your life from your soul's purpose. And that's another key element, because majority of people, they just go to a job which they hate. They live in this hamster wheel of just spinning their wheels and surviving, basically. They don't live from their purpose. And we all came on this planet to share our gift. We all have a unique gift, a gift that only you have. No one has the exact same gift as you. So we all came here to live our gift, to express our gift, and to share our gift with others. And that will give you fulfillment, because you're living in your highest expression of you. But most people are so disconnected from the idea of living from their purpose that they don't even know what their purpose is. Or if they do, they think it's too difficult, or they have some kind of excuse why they can't live their purpose. So in order to be truly fulfilled in life, true inner happiness, we have to live our purpose, live what our soul came here to express. And and there's actually different ways of finding out your soul purpose. But it's another thing that's key. It's a key element, because even you do a cleansing, you do meditation, but then you still go to a job that you hate just for the money, or because it's a family business, or you've been doing it for 20 years and it's just the way it is. You're living a limited version of yourself because you haven't stepped fully into your purpose. And I think right now a lot of people are waking up, and there's a reason why many people often lose their jobs, because the universe is actually have something greater for them in store. Yeah. And when something happens, you lose your job, or something is just not going well anymore, there's a message behind it. maybe it's time to listen to it and really go deep. What did you come here for? You just didn't come here to struggle and to survive and to push and to hustle. You came here for your gift, and that's a unique gift that serves others. It fulfills you. At the same time, it serves this planet and serves mankind. So it's about, going deep, and fasting and cleansing will actually help you to go deep. And many people, doing a cleanse, they suddenly realize, oh, there's something wrong with what I'm doing. There's something wrong with my relationship. There's something wrong with the way I show up. They suddenly have this huge awakening because the dense layers are being, released. And you go to the subtle frequency of life, the subtle energies. And that's where a lot of the power lies. And that's where you can see clearly and things suddenly crystallize.
So I heard their, purpose. I heard a little bit about kind of getting a little bit more excited rather than just going to work, rather than just paying your bills. This is also about putting a little bit of spark in your life. This is about putting a little bit of excitement in your life. It's about getting kind of optimistic and enthusiastic and playful with your life. It's about changing your life energy by changing the things you're thinking and saying and doing, the foods that you're eating, the movements that you're making, the meditation, the practices, the breath work, the conscious breathing. This is about changing your life, changing your new year, yourself with your own energy, with things that you can access for free, and building a lifestyle that you can maintain for the rest of the year. This is what we're talking about, creating an event, because this is what we're talking about. We're creating an event where people can join in with us and they can get access to be around us, to learn these things that we've learned from a few years of practice and habit and discussion and dialogue and practice.
Yes, absolutely. So John and I, we are offering a 10-day container, which offers daily support via Zoom. And we're going into all the topics we discussed today. There's a 3-day cleanse, which you can choose between juicing, water fasting, or dry fasting. There will be shadow work, movement, meditation, breath work, emotional mastery. We will touch on soul purpose and manifestation, how you create really your life. So we also go into communication and really learning how to build a foundation. And then we give you many different tools, all nature-based tools that are free and very easy to access. And then you have a toolbox at the end of those 10 days. And then you continue on your own and you can choose which tools you want to use for yourself, which one you want to focus on. And then you can build basically a new foundation for yourself going forward, creating a new lifestyle, a new way of being, a new way of thinking, a new way of showing up in life. It's a completely new version of you, and which is really the true you, the authentic you that you haven't fully expressed yet, that you haven't lived yet. So it's about returning to you, the original you, the authentic you in your fullness, in your highest, in your most beautiful, sublime version.
So this is the new year, new you. It's a 10-day health and nutrition and mindset, emotional relationship. It's all of these things. And it's going to happen January 10th to the 20th. So it starts next week, Monday. So if you're looking to make a change in your new year, if you want to get healthy, if you want to take responsibility for your own health, rather than, looking externally for health, instead of looking to drugs and chemicals for health, let's talk about health from a natural, positive mindset, from a change of mind and a change of life style. We change our health and change our future and create the very best year that we can.
Yes, we would love to have you and share some time with you and get to know you, because we're all teachers for each other, and to create a bond, because there's nothing like being in a tribe of like-minded beings. Miracles happen, and we've seen it before. And John and I are excited to share everything. No holding back. All the tools we learned I learned it in 30 years, and John also 30 years. So we bring 60 years of experience on healing and empowerment and transformation. We're bringing that to you in a loving container, in a container where you will be supported and helped and seen and received. 10 days.
Awesome.
We look forward to see you.
So wonderful. So great to catch up with you today. So great to frame it up and talk all about it and get clear about it for ourselves, to get clear about what we're going to share with everyone. It's great to get onto the same page with you. Thank you so much for your time today. I wonder if anyone has any questions, that they could always send it into the chat, or they could speak it out if they would like. And if not, then we will cut it off for today and say, join us next week, Monday, for our 10-day health and wellness, New Year, New You online health and wellness retreat.
Yay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.
See you later.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.